So Garrett, one thing I have clients, buyers or sellers, I think one confusion is always more around the title process and what title does and how it works when we actually submit a contract to you. Can you kind of just go through a quick overview of what a client can expect during this process from you guys?
Yeah, so a lot of the general public is very confused by what the title company actually does. A lot of them think that we're like the payday loan company down the street or something like that. They have zero idea what goes on at the title company.
Or the guys that make the transactions difficult, right?
Yes, right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we have all these requirements.
But a lot of these requirements aren't necessarily you. They're more on what the lender's coming through or in some cases.
A good way to look at it is, so we are pretty much the intermediary between all of the parties involved in the transaction. So your buyers, your sellers, the lenders, the agents, everybody who's involved that has a piece of this transaction, we are the third party for everybody. So we have no allegiance to really anybody. Our allegiance is to every single person within the transaction. And so we do our best to take all of the information, all of the requirements, and get all of those together to make sure that the transaction can be processed and transferred smoothly. So whenever you go under contract, it's going to start a chain reaction of events. And basically, the order is going to be submitted to us at the title company, and immediately we are going to start what we call a title search. So basically, we are going to go into an examination of that property and how it was handed down in the chain of title. So every time it was transferred through the years, there are state statutes within the state of Missouri that we have to go back so far. But as long as we have information, recorded information, we will go back as far as possible to make sure that there will be no interruptions in that chain of title. That way, whenever you do go to close, that you can be sure that you are the actual legitimate owners of the property. So once we get that search back, then we will do what we call is a commitment to perform title insurance. So that's another facet of the title company, is that once we have done this search, it's going to show us who is the owner and who we are transferring to, and we are going to make a commitment that we will issue title insurance. And so that title insurance is going to cover the buyer, that if there is a defect in that title, that whenever it comes back, that they can have that reassurance that they will be covered. There are two different policies. There's a lender's and an owner's policy. You do not have to get the owner's policy, but if you get a loan on the property, your lender is going to require that. That will cover them if there's a defect in title. Once we've done that, we'll create the settlement statements. There's a lot of different things that go into working with the lender to make sure that we balance if you have a loan on the property, and we will prepare all of those. Usually it takes about 30 to 45 days, just depending on the lender and the type of property and different things like that, and then we will get to the closing table. So that's kind of an overview of the process.
Pretty good overview. So basically, at the end of the day, you guys do a title search.
Yep.
As long as everything is good there, you provide a title commitment.
Yep.
And the commitment is that you're going to provide title insurance, which protects the buyer, that in the case that something didn't pop up on the title search, or somebody has down the line a right to the property, that they have an insurance policy to cover them in the event that that would happen.
Yep.
One question on the title insurance. So is that like self-funded by Meridian, or is it a third party that provides the title insurance?
So if you think about it, anytime you hear insurance, you're probably thinking like your car insurance, your homeowner's insurance, because that's what people deal with a lot. So a lot of times people have an agent, but they write for a larger carrier who is called an underwriter, who actually issues the policy. So we perform that in a similar aspect as what your homeowner's insurance or your car insurance would be. We have several different underwriters that we are licensed to write an insurance with. And so whenever we do a commitment to write that title insurance, we will write it under one of those. And they're national, reputable carriers that have 5-star ratings that we work with, and so they're the ones that we're actually writing it under, but we're licensed agents of them. So.
Okay, that makes sense. And just to clarify, homeowners insurance and title insurance are two different things on the settlement statement.
Very much two different things. A good way to look at title insurance is your homeowner's insurance is going to cover anything going into the future. So if you have something from the time you take out that policy, while it's in place, that happens in the future, that's what it's going to cover. Title insurance you can look at as something that is retroactive. So it is covering from the point that you purchase it backwards. And so a lot of people kind of get hung up on that, but the title insurance is only going to cover anything from the date that you purchased back on. So if you go to sell the property down the line, then it would be on the next owner's title insurance. So
makes sense. Well, I think that's a pretty good overview.